بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, ISB and ISBCC community group. We've been together since the beginning of this quarantine, in this quarantine conversations, and we tried hard to entertain you, to bring topics that of interest to you so that we can learn something, walk through this together. And we are witnessing now the signs of our masajid being partially open. We're back to our prayers in the masajid with all the regulations and guidelines of the social distancing. This is a great bless from Allah, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. And we've witnessed some masajid, alhamdulillah, they are doing Jum'ah prayers. Others are doing the Jum'ah khatira, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So I think we are witnessing some great blessings and great acceptance of your dua and supplications and prayers in Ramadan. Allah elevate all this that's happening, and alhamdulillah we are seeing that. However, while we are seeing that, we've been hit hardly with this tragic incidents and what's happening in the country right now. And we thought of hosting someone who's like very close to what's happening and know exactly, is a pillar in our community and being there for years and years, being a supporter, a pillar, an advocate, an imam, and khatib, really muslah in our community, being there whenever we need them. And let me first introduce him. He's Imam Taalib Mahdee. Imam Taalib Mahdee has a bachelor degree in human services from New Hampshire College. He studied Arabic at Al-Azhar University in Egypt. In Cairo, he traveled to Saudi Arabia to work on their educational system. Now he participates in several community organizations that represent a diverse population, such as the United Way, Faith and Action, Cooperative Metropolitan Ministers, Islamic Council of New England, and the Muslim American Society of Northeast Region Council. And I personally got the pleasure to know him more during one of those interfaith dialogue at the ISB in Cambridge, where I serve as the director over there. And I learned a lot from the quality of the discussion and the way he handled situations. And I think he's the right person and the right imam to be with us when it comes to what's going on in the country right now. Please join me welcoming Imam Taalib Mahdee. Imam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm on mute.
Oh, no, I can hear it now. Now I can hear
okay.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for being with us, Imam, in this, I would say, challenging times we're passing through.
Yes.
And let me start by asking the questions. I've seen and I heard your speech with the mayor. Can you give us some background? Alhamdulillah, that we've been represented by someone like you who knows the community inside out, being there even before we've been there, and you know each and every single person, you have an interaction with them, you're very well respected, alhamdulillah, in our community. So can you give us talking points about what you talked about, so that the people who did not hear this speech know exactly what message you delivered?
Yes, thank you. Again, assalamu alaikum. It was a couple of messages that I wanted to get across during that interfaith prayer meeting that we had with the mayor, and we thank him and thank Brother Yusufi for the invitation. But one of the first messages that I want to get across is our Creator Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and how we perceive Him, and how we perceive Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Because for me, this is some of the issues that we really don't talk about, but we need to begin to talk about to bring a better awareness of solving these problems. And then the next thing I just dealt with, the reason why I was there, and it wasn't so much to focus in on, even though it was what brought us down there, and that was the murder of Floyd. Even though that was the reason, I wanted to let people know that I was there, because the Creator is a just God, in that the answers that we seek Him through Himself, that we seek Him through Him, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And then I just wanted to try to remind my people, the African American, that we have to be more responsible in our decision making and more responsible for the things that we say and do, because again, we're going to be held accountable, and we don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution. So basically, those are some of the things that I covered.
That's very nice, and I think the very strong message as well. So let's say that after the murder of George Floyd, what does this teach us about our own Muslim community, either in terms of racism or any other thing? What does this teach us before like handling and talking about the situation itself? But what message shall we as Muslim community learn from the murder of George Floyd?
As I began to reflect on the questions, I began to think about my interaction with the Muslim community over these many years, and I think Floyd's death was an exclusion of the African American people with the African American people within the greater American society and how they have been treated. And to some degree, I find the same thing that's a reality with the Muslim community. I'll be talking from a personal point of view. There was too many situations where we were excluded. We probably would have been there physically. Our parents was there, but our ideas, our thoughts, our spirit, our knowledge of America and what it offered and what the good and the bad of it, I think that was excluded in the dialogue. I can remember, just give you a quick example. I can remember going to a meeting downtown, and before the new masjid was being built, they were making a presentation to the city. And after the presentation, I was struck because there was no mention of how all it began, and that was through Imam Dawood from Masjid Alhamdulillah. So what I did was I went outside and looked at every piece of material. I took every piece of material that was there, especially from the Muslim community. And as I read it and read every single piece, there was nothing mentioned of the African American effort or including the African American effort to bring about this new reality, ISBCC. So that was something that was just an exclusion, which I said, well, again, it was a likeness from what I saw from George Floyd.
And how did you feel about that when you feel like you put the effort and you're a pillar in building that big mosque and this effort went unnoticed? How did you feel about that?
Well, to be honest with you, my orientation of Islam, being a Muslim, I've been a Muslim, took my Shahadatain in 1978. So my orientation came under the leadership of Imam Taalib Mahdee, may Allah be pleased with him.
Amen.
So because of my orientation with him, he orientated us with Islam in such a way that I expected that. I expected, unfortunately, I expected something like that to happen with the Muslims. And then when I began interacting with the Muslim community, so I was not surprised. And in fact, I'm still not surprised today that the Muslim community is reacting and doing things. There's always this idea that something happens to an African American, then the Muslim African American community is called. They want to put the African American Muslim out front. But after all is said and done, there's no dialogue. There's no true, serious dialogue and try to solve some of these problems that we face as a Muslim community.
How can we change that?
I think we have to take an honest look at ourselves. I think we have to take an honest look at ourselves. We have to take an honest look at our history. For many Muslims coming over from all over the world and coming here to America, we have that example in our history of the Mujahideen and the Ansar. And we have to look at that and see if does that model in Islam, does that model fit here? And if it fits here, which I believe it does, then we should have some dialogue. We should have had the dialogue years ago, but it's never too late. It's never too late. We have to have this honest, sincere dialogue to try to bring our hearts together in a way that would be beneficial for the Muslim community.
And this is something we rely on you, Imam. Definitely, we need you to take a step and take a lead in that. I think this is like a waking up call. What's happened to Floyd, I think we as Muslims, as Muslim community shouldn't be taking this as incident per incident, as you mentioned, and after the incidents we go to our norm, sleeping dormant phase, rather than we take it up and we start to repel and like push away the racism from our own communities, if I would say, because like you've been there forever. So I'm saying that there's a huge responsibility on your shoulder and on the scholars and the imams, so that we can you can, and with the wisdom you have and with the knowledge and with the history, to bring this dialogue, not when something happened, but to keep on going and have action so that we can move forward. So now this is the question I need. So do you yourself experience racism, whether like within the Muslim community or outside? And I know that you said that you've been an African American being pushed on a side, but right now yourself, do you face like this kind of racism, and how do you intend to change that?
Every day to some degree, if you're out in the public, and if you're dealing with people, especially in this American society, you're going to feel and see some point, some racism. The best way to do it is to keep working. You keep working, you keep trying to let everybody know, and when you come in contact with that, say something, try to share your religion with people. But most of all, I think that we have to be consistent. We have to be consistent in the religion. We can't change up because it's a different person. We have to be consistent. We have to show them this new identity called Islam. We have to show them the beauty of Islam, and make sure that we look at ourselves. We have to look at ourselves every day and find and figure and ask ourselves, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? And so again, we have to take that great look at ourselves and our heart and see what we have to do. But then we have to get involved. We have to get involved whatever avenue we can. We have to get involved and try to change the person or people's heart and mind about what's really going on.
Imam Talib, I have brother Abdullah Anshur, one of the pillars in our community as well, he's in the ISB and ISBCC long time ago. He's saying, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He is saying that we need all mosques to talk about how Islam prevents divisions and segregations. We need actions, not just support statements.
I agree. That's why I think when I first got this initial call, one of the things that I said that I was very interested in, for us to come together, for us to come to Muslims. We talk in dialogue with everybody else, with all these other faith communities, and we should, but we have yet, in a sincere, honest way, consistently sat down and talked to ourselves about these issues that we have. And until we do that, we're always going to be on the fringe. We're always going to have these attitudes. We're always going to have this disposition because we have not come together in a genuine way to get to know each other. So until we do that, these issues are always going to plague us, and these issues will not go away.
As a leader, Imam Talib, as an imam, as like a scholar, as a religious leader in our community, someone who's everyone look high to you, all of the institutions and the masajid, they issued statements. Everyone issued statements. And what's beyond this statement? What do you suggest to go beyond this statement as Islamic institutions?
The work.
What kind of work?
We have to do the work. We have to get. I don't know if you know Dr. Asmal. Dr. Asmal was working with the Council of New England. And for years, he's been saying that we should come together, we should sit down, whether it's monthly, every other month, we should come together and sit down and really discuss the issues that we face as a community. Racism, whatever the issue may be, for the long haul. This has to be for the long haul. So one of the actions that should come out of this right away is to try to get us as leaders together, to try to sit down and have this discussion maybe once a month, once every other month, to begin to dialogue and understand what can we do to bring more cohesiveness within our own community. All of us are going to get involved with the outside community. to do that work with the faith communities and so forth and so on. But until we can come together and really sit down and hammer out these issues, these divisions that we have, it's going to really be for naught. And we're giving a lot of energy to that, but we won't give a lot of energy to ourselves. So I would like to put myself out there and say when we've come to somewhat as normal, when we be able to be consistent and come to the messages, I would like to have them in host, or at least be part of the group, the initial group, to begin to make this effort a reality and come together, bring the leaders together and come together, sit down and to talk and discussion and see how we're going to solve these problems that we know that are facing the Muslim community.
That's true, and I would say that this is the moment of a leadership to step up and start those conversations and pull all the Muslim community who are like right now they are separated under like a flag and start the conversation. And no one can do that better than the people who think that they can step up being oppressed and start taking a leadership position and have this conversation. Imam, there is a blame from our younger generation, future leaders coming in the 20s and the 30 years, saying that we, as older generations, did not provide the right leadership model. We did not come on qalb rajul wahid, on one united body and heart. As a matter of fact, we give them very unpleasant model to follow. And they're saying that, hey, you are the reason in what we reach out right now, and our kids are blaming us. However, this generation is very cohesive, coming together. We don't see them inside the mosque. We don't see them inside, I would say, in our activities. Most of our mosques are filled up with our generations. So what's your observation on that? And what's the strategy, if this is the right assumption, to move forward?
Yes, I agree. Most of the masajids are people up in age, but maybe we need to, maybe our teaching methodologies have to change. Maybe we need to find ways that can reach them in a way that that will be beneficial for them. I know one thing: they don't want to sit down for no 2 or 3 hours and listen to somebody talk. Maybe, so we got to find a way. Which now with this technology, maybe this can help us out in a way to, help them, educate them, and get them involved. That would be a benefit. But I also want to say here too is, I think they have the wisdom to see in us what we did not do. So if you have that wisdom to see in your parents or the generation before you what we did not do, then I think with that wisdom should be the wisdom of how, with the help of those elderly, how can we do, the youth, what we needed to do to bring about a better situation and circumstance for this generation, instead of just blaming the past generation without coming together with that generation and try to solve the problem. Because again, we're either part of the problem or we're part of the solution. And I would think, since they identified what the problem is, then they should also be able to help solve the problem. So we can't leave them off the hook. And I think part of the danger that we take upon our shoulders. I remember one time people were saying that the Muslim community is not united. I disagreed with that then, and I disagree with that now. Islam unites us. We are united. It's just that within that unification, maybe we've got a little away from it, but the tenets of our religion, the structure of our religion brings us in that we're united. So I would say for them, their religion, Islam, unites them and is able to solve all problems. So that's where we should begin. Begin with our religion, begin with identifying what the problem is, and then saying to ourselves, I'm going to be part of the solution to the problem. And don't blame the parents and let them get off the hook. So again, we have to have this dialogue with them. If they feel that way, then we should sit down and figure out a way what we need to do with you to solve this issue. Give us some help. What should we do?
Yeah. Awesome. I have Sister Layla is saying that we need to explain scientifically that the color of the skin has nothing to do with the manners. Color of skin is a matter that return to Allah. The manners and how you deal with others is the main pillar for Islam and many other beliefs. So it looks like we need more of a teachings. We need more of telling what our Islam is, how we dealt with the skin color. What's the advice of our Prophet, Imam, about the skin color?
It
What did our
says that
yeah?
this last speaker was saying that there's no superiority over Arab over non-Arab, Arab over non-Arab, so forth, white over black, black over white. The only superiority is in the relationship, the closeness that we have with Allah. And I agree. We have to look at Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his behavior, how. Maybe we haven't looked at Muhammad in a way that will give us the real tangible, how did he do things? How did he explain things? Because she's right. We know that there is no skin color. We shouldn't be no Muslim should be looking at a color. No, the Muslim should be looking at the behavior of each and every one of us and not the color. So maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to go back and look at those verses and ayats and things that explain from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How did he do it? How did he explain it? You know, and I think we have to make the revelation, the Quran, we have to make it relevant. Obviously, with these problems that we're facing, obviously, we say the Quran is a healing, we say the Quran is the book, but obviously we have not made it relevant enough, obviously, with the teachings and understanding of the Quran to really grasp or have us, the young people grasp the better meanings of the Quran. Hence, that's why I believe that our sister said scientifically. Maybe we have to go back and look at things scientifically and let them know that, you know, science is the truth. We verify. We verify scripture and everything else with the truth.
Awesome. I would like to use the final minutes of our show to tell you that the structure of our community is like, I would say, people practice, they come to the mosque, or people like actively engaged and volunteers, and people who come like on a very periodic times. They show on Jummah and on Eid, and there's a leadership management team, and there's a board. I would like to ask you about the roles and responsibility of each one of those in the current racism challenge we are facing, whether inside our Muslim community or inside our country. What is needed from each and every one of us at their leadership position to do so that we can actively participate in, as you mentioned, to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So let's start by the average, like practicing Muslim who comes and attend the prayers. What's needed from them? What's your advice to them?
To get involved. That's one aspect of coming to the prayer. But what about the community itself now? Okay, I'm at the prayer. I come to the prayer consistently. When I come to the prayer, I'm coming there for the prayer, but there's people with me making prayer. So I should be able to understand and get to know the people that I'm making prayer with. If I get to know the people that I'm making prayer with, maybe I can find my interest, what I'm interested in within that community, and maybe I can make my contribution that way. But at the same time, those who are in that leadership position and role responsibility have to understand that that person has to be able or have to have trust, and you let that person use their mind and their intelligence without confining them. Because I think this is one of the biggest things that has happened with us as a Muslim community and the structures that we've had. The structures themselves have confined people in such a way where they became strangled. They became, strangled. And another thing that I would need to look at from all aspects is, what is our intention? What's the intention of having the imam? What's the intention of having the masjid? What's the intent? what's our intention? Because I think for too long, our intention has not been, we say it, but the reality is there has been more of a financial interest in some situations and circumstance rather than the interest of trying to develop that person before the interest of financial. So we have to keep things in the proper perspective and try to help that individual grow as an individual and make that person feel comfortable coming into the masjid. No matter what masjid a person goes in, they should feel comfortable. They should feel at home at every masjid. Whether they've been there 10 times or one time, they should feel comfortable. And if someone comes to my masjid and they don't feel comfortable in masjid, then I have to take a look at our method. I have to take a look at the people at the door. I have to look at where did they become uncomfortable, and so that we can try to rectify that problem so that they can feel more comfortable coming to the masjid. So there's a lot of work that we have to do.
And what is your advice to the leadership? And I name the leadership as like the board. What's your advice to them? All the boards. I would say all the boards.
I think that's
You're breaking up, Imam.
yes. This has been part of the problem because if you have an imam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
If you have an imam, you can hear me.
You're breaking up.
If you have an imam that always, before they make a decision, have to go to the board, then that could be a problem. If a board of a masjid hires an imam, then they should have faith in that imam that in consultation with the leadership body, that they will be making the best choices. But I think what has happened in some of our masajids, we become too top heavy and we have not been able to make that distinction of trying to let the imam do what the imam's supposed to do without always trying to get a consent from the board. So maybe we shouldn't have no boards. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't have no boards.
So this is like, I would say, Floyd's reminder, no racism comes in many flavor, whether like in our community, in our like a city, in our country. However, it's a wake-up call for everyone to start revising, as you mentioned, what we are doing and to be part of the solution, not be part of the problem. Imam, I would like this came into my mind, you to be like one of our imams and khatib on the first khutbah at the ISBCC to tackle this issue of justice in Islam, and how can we as a community like come together and move forward in a very positive way, in a very structured way, rather than in very unstructured, if I may say. So if this is something that's like you see it's you can do it, please let's discuss that so that we can benefit from your experience about that. This is number one. Number two, you've been telling that yes, there is no dialogue. Would like this to start happening. Would like this to start happening now, not late. So we need a leader to carry the flag and say that, hey, this is where we're going to start the dialogue, and this is the structured approach, and those are the topics will be discussed, so that we need someone to make this happen. So we need to start from there. What do you think about that?
I think it's good because we really, to be honest with you, we already have things in place for this. Like the Islamic Council of New England, this body is made up of many masajids. So we should go to them and utilize them and say what we want our intentions to be in that body, and have them, because they have, I think last time I believe it was 23, 24 masajids underneath that umbrella. It started right there. So we don't have to make anything new. We already have the things. And the other thing about being a khatib, is there imam at the masjid now?
No, no, there is not. We don't have an imam right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if they're thinking about I don't know if they're thinking about, I'm sure at some point in time they're going to get an imam there. I think that imam that is chosen should do the first one. I should come after him.
Yeah, but right now we don't have that. That's why I extended the invitation for you. Right now it's a rotating imams and people like come and do the khutbah. But I think that's
Also,
because
you're doing Jumu'ah. I didn't know if you was doing Jumu'ah or not.
no, we haven't started this one yet, but I was inviting on the first one. Like whenever like they
Okay.
would be doing, yeah, the first one would like this to be the topic, so that at least we stand in solidarity with this topic and teach people what's our Islam is telling us about racism. This was my suggestion. With
Okay,
that,
inshallah.
yeah, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Imam. It was very nice, as usual, to see you first and to listen to you and to your ideas. And definitely, you are a pillar who built and the ISBC. I personally, I'm from the very young generation. I've been hearing this a lot. And definitely, your efforts and your colleagues' effort will not go unnoticed. Even if it's got unnoticed in this life, it will not be go unnoticed within Allah's eyes. May Allah
And
protect you, and we benefit from you always. Thank you very much, Imam. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khair. Yakum.
Thank you very
Assalamu
much,
alaikum.
Imam. Assalamu alaikum, Imam.